Hi, I'm Evan. I work on VueJS full-time. Before that, I was at Meteor, and then before that, I was at Google. So in terms of core, the next big thing is probably proxy-based reactivity system, which is able to give us gets rid of some of the current caveats in the detection system. Also improves generally improves performance on the initial loading time. It allows us to modernize the internal code base using latest ES 2015 features. But the cost is we have to drop IE support for that. So, which is why that branch is going to be parallelly maintained with the current branch, which supports IE. So, in terms of functionality or the technical details, I'm not going to dig too deep into that. But on a very high level, I think the difference between Vue versus React or Angular is that React or Angular are things that's created by big companies while they are building some of the other things they were trying to build. So the open source of these projects is a sort of a byproduct of whatever the big company is trying to do originally. And they also tend to take a more top-down design approach because these frameworks are typically designed to solve some of the higher-level engineering problems that they've identified in their previous process. So there are certain advantages in this is they kind of have a very clear big picture of what problem they're trying to solve at the high level. But the problem is sometimes they would neglect the very low-level developer friendliness. So for Vue, it's really designed from the bottom up. We really focus on making sure Vue is accessible and easy to understand, easy to pick up, regardless of your background as a developer. So both are state management solutions, and they do the same thing in that they provide you the global state store, and they also kind of enforce a certain set of conventions and rules so that your code, the code that declares your state and the code that can change your state are always placed in predictable locations, are always used in a predictable fashion. So they both achieve that goal. The biggest difference is that Redux prefers a more immutable model of state, either in the pattern reducers or in the way it prefers you to use immutable data. Because you're already using these state management patterns, you're already enforcing rules on how and where you can mutate or change states. Whether it's immutable or not actually becomes more a technical reason. In React generally prefers immutable data because React's pure component and should component updates typically just do a shallow compare of the new props coming in. If you allow deep mutation of your prop, like objects inside props, then all these pure components or should component update essentially becomes useless, or they would produce incorrect render results. So for React, it's kind of actually mandatory to use shallow immutable objects as prop. But in Vue, we don't have that problem because Vue's reactivity tracking is able to track arbitrarily deep nested mutations. And in terms of performance, that also is an advantage because no matter how you mutate your state, we're able to accurately determine what components we need to render without having to do the pure component or should up and component check that you see. So Vue core team will probably not gonna do it. Mostly because native platform engineering is very resource intensive. You know, we have Facebook probably has like 20 engineers working on the native parts of React Native, and Vue core team as mostly volunteers. We don't have the resource nor have the intention to do all of these native side rendering ourselves. The good thing is we already have projects like Weeks or NativeScript filling that gap. So what Vue team will do is to just keep a good collaboration relationship with Weeks and NativeScript or whatever other team or company they want to do a native rendering target for Vue. We'd be happy to help them figure out how to do that. For me, I think we are obviously doing pretty well right now, and for the long term, really the goal is to keep our original vision of providing a framework that increases developer happiness and productivity. That's really all we want to do. So in that sense, Vue was created out of the need for a better development experience, and as long as that we have things that we can do to improve that goal, we're going to keep working on that. And in the long term, obviously we want to see Vue getting even more adoption. So One thing we're working on right now is probably improving adoption in bigger enterprises companies, which are typically a bit late in the adoption curve and they're a bit risk averse, but I think we have crossed the critical mass and we're getting into their area, and that's something I hope to see in the next few years.